They're here.
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this program. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Friday, 26, 2025. Hey, it's time for some Friday night disclosure. We haven't had that in a while here, but we've got our great friend Matt Laslo coming back to join us to go ahead and talk about the lunacies, literally, that are going on in, what do you call that? Oh, wow. All right. That are going on in D.C., my friends. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Before, audience, welcome in on anything. We've got a guest here who's on a tight schedule. So let me jump into the studio. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Thomas. We're going to have, it seems like one hell of a Friday night show tonight.
Yeah, I think we got an hour or so of Matt's show, he just said. So, Mike, we got Matt Laslo here. Actually, you got him here. You're able to run him up. So on that note, let's jump into the interview studio, Mike, and get this conversation going.
Oh, absolutely. Welcome to the show, Matt. Good to see you.
Hey, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's really, it's been a while. It's glad. We're glad that you came back. You used to come on a lot.
Hey, anytime. But I do apologize because my DMs are a nightmare. Sorry, I've been missing y'all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we support everything you do over at Escapol. We were even giving out to the audience members subscriptions to Escapol.
Oh, tight.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we support
Thank you.
everything that y'all have been doing over there.
Keep the questions coming. What I love is all your audience, you guys, you make me look smart.
Oh, you are smart.
Keep feeding me questions. But I'm not smart when it comes to UAP stuff. That's what I'm learning as I go. Day in my life.
No, it's okay. But yeah, listen, we know all about that. So she was trying to put out there this story and information that you called her out on, and she got caught lying, which was very interesting. It started a big shitstorm on X because she first tried to blow it off with you and tell you that I can't talk about that. That's classified. And then she came back with, no, I never said that. So you want to explain that more for our audience so they could have it in context as far as what was going on?
Yeah. So what was it? Early 2024. So start of last year when Matt Gaetz was still in Congress, I had a member of the UAP caucus come up to me, a member of Congress, whisper in my ear, hey, Gaetz and Luna have seen bodies, alien bodies on one of their, I believe it
at Glen Air Force Base in Florida.
Yeah.
When they went down
and
there,
so we dropped that. So I take what the UAP caucus member told me, don't identify them because, hey, I will never give up my sources. But I take that information and this is actually one of the things about Askapol. If y'all listen acutely, as I know you guys do, you'll hear me ask classified information. And that's just me trying to fish and get them to trip up and forget that they're not supposed to talk with me about classified information. And so, yeah, this wasn't classified, but I was keeping members' identity not public or whatever. And so I told Luna, on mic, as we do with everything at Askapol, just like, hey, one of your colleagues said this, that you guys saw bodies. And her response instantaneously was, I can't discuss classified stuff. And then after that piece goes out, with just Luna saying that, literally, like right now, we've got a Kimber Chet video that at least one, it's going viral in like 20 different places at once. But like the last one I saw on X had 1.5 million views. Like the piece about bodies that we did with Luna and Gates blows that 1.5 million out of the water. Like it was our biggest traffic day ever. And like we just hadn't met it. Like we went viral. Or no, the congresswoman went viral because she said, I can't, I can't say that I didn't see alien bodies at this base. Well, once that piece goes out and it's literally blowing up the internet, like an hour or two later, I was surprised because I think I had texted Matt Gates, but then I just see like an email come in from his staff, and Gates' staff, like, could look it up, but they say something like, they basically confirm that Luna and Gates had a classified briefing, but he also says we can't discuss the content of that. And so, again, internet kept blowing up for a week, maybe even a month. Like it just kept going. And then now, some like year and a half later, Luna says, because I guess I called her a liar last week, which I shouldn't have done. That's a little more ad hominem. Like, yes, she, but this is where like I try to not slip into the Washington like political speak, because I'm like, you lied to me, you lied to my audience. But me calling you a liar, we can say that's ad hominem. So yeah, maybe that was below the belt. I apologize, Madam Chair. But
you don't have to apologize. How many retractions did you have to do from getting information from her? A lot, right?
Bro, 4 or 5.
Right.
Literally, she is not a source of ours anymore because we've had to do so many retractions. Even she told us this early in July, or maybe end of June, like, hey, public UAP hearing is on for the summer. We're going to do it in July. Well, then the next week, the internet's telling me like, oh, it's canceled. And I'm like, wait, but the congresswoman told me. And I'm like, I do believe her. Well, then what did we find out? It was it comes down to her, but her and her staff
didn't file the paperwork.
They didn't file the paperwork. Like, so the most basic thing they had to do. And so like, I get why she's deflecting, because you don't want to show ineptitude either in your office or with you. But come on, if that happened to me and I was in office, I'd just fire someone and then move on. I've been looking into it. And so I've been researching, well, because I'm like, wait, I know I pinged Luna and her staff after Gates and his team got back to me. I just can't find the message I sent to them. Well, that's because like one of the apps I use is outdated. It has it's called Congress in Your Pocket, which is helpful. I have these, this is not pro-Trump, but there's your guy if you like him. This is like the congressional Facebook. And so it has like information, like a little bio on each lawmaker. You get it through Sunwater Institute or Congressional Research Service, which is helpful, but they'll have like key staffers' names. And in the app I use, they'll have, chief of staff's email, press secretaries. Well, every person in the app, the 4 people named there, are all new. So like I haven't been able to find, because I'm like, wait, who was her chief of staff? Who was her press secretary at the start of last year? And I don't know if your audience knows this or you all know it, but Legistorm is a great resource for congressional reporters, especially, but from inquisitive crowds like yours. Legistorm it lists, because Congress is federal government, and even though they exempted themselves from FOIA, which is terrible, they do have to publicize their office budgets and all that. So on Legistorm, you can go up and look how much a press secretary is getting paid, how much chief of staff's getting paid, etc. And so that also kind of shows you the turnover. You have to, like, I don't pay for it. I think you can spend a lot of money on a Legistorm subscription. I just use it for free. I think some of my universities, I'll Lexus it. But yeah, I think your audience would have fun with that. And that would actually be fun. If someone sent me a list of Luna's staff turnover, we'd probably publish that at Ask a Poll.
Because it just seems like something that would be happening based on what we're seeing from the outside. It'd be interesting to see what's happening on the inside of that fragile shell.
But so here's my thing with Luna, like, because I've been listening, like, since she attacked me, I just like got introspective, a little depressed, and like went back and re-listened to all these interviews. And like, there's been maybe 4 or 5 times I've interviewed her, the chairwoman of the Secrets Task Force, co-chair of the UAP caucus. There's been like 4 or 5 interviews I've done with her this year that I just never got around to posting because there's just like no there. And like, we posted some, like what, when I asked her about the Wall Street Journal article, the Kirkpatrick hit piece, I was like, hey, ma'am, have you read it? She goes, no. And then I, like, next sentence, she's like, yeah, but it's bullshit. I'm like, ma'am, how do you know it's bullshit if you haven't read it?
Right.
So I actually, earlier today, I just printed out 4 copies of it. Gonna give one to her and then one to Senate Intel Chair, Vice Chair Mark Warner, and then Senate Intel Chair Tom Cotton, just because I haven't found, maybe Burleson has read it. But like, I told Senator Gillibrand about it and she hadn't read it. And then when I last talked to her about it, her staffer goes, hey, I read it. I'll fill you in. And I'm just like, you arrogant little prick.
Right.
Like, this is how Washington works. Like, you're very strong, powerful, intelligent boss. You're telling her not to consume the information herself, and you're just going to feed it to her. Like, I get it on one level, and on another level, I'm like, you all are the problem.
Well, speaking of the problem, did you hear where Luna had stated she was bitching and moaning about she couldn't get any firsthand whistleblowers to come testify on September 9th? But she also then went on to say that she knows that these witnesses are being blocked from coming and testifying in Congress by congressional staffers. But she didn't name the staffers' names or the offices they're working out of. Do you think it's just bullshit, or that really is going on in Congress?
So seeing how she just like reversed on me, because like in the lead up to the September public UAP hearing, and I guess throughout August, Congress takes all of August off for their month-long August recess. And so throughout August, I think I was sending out some tweets. There were some barbs at, just a simple dereliction of duty, like literal reporting on this Congress. Because the last Congress, the one that just ended in December, January.
The 118th, yeah.
118th, like, UAPs, UFOs was something that was bipartisan. You had AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamie Raskin, who led one of the impeachments against Trump, and then the Freedom Caucus folks, so like the furthest right, and like they were all at the same table,
right,
wide-eyed and eager to investigate this. Something changed, and that's why I'm still fishing around trying to find out
Could
if anyone has any. Yeah.
Could the something that changed be that they gave them this task force for national secrets and they distracted everybody? Come look over here, get away from this other shit.
You nailed it. Like, literally. So we know Republican leaders and Democratic leaders. We know just party leaders throughout Washington and throughout the nation are dubious to varying degrees. And so like you kind of like expect it from them. But so like the UAP caucus had been focused on, and they really wanted a select UAP committee. If they got that select committee, they'd have subpoena power. It maybe would have a budget.
Right.
But so instead,
But Mike
party
Johnson
leaders
shot that down.
well, and
James
so,
Comer.
but this might have been Luna's idea. This is where Comer, I know him because I used to cover him for Kentucky Public Radio,
Right.
but he's got that folky Southern thing, draw where he's not talking precisely, but he's kind of hinted at like, hey, I just give Luna what she wants. Like he's told me that, like, hey, we extended it for another 6 months because task force only have 6 months windows. But Comer's like, yeah, whatever she wants. And so like, it almost feels like Burchett, who's more senior than Luna by just one term, but seniority matters in Congress.
It does.
Burchett's been kind of hurt and burnt this entire Congress because he was bypassed for
Right.
that. He's come more into his groove. And even in the hearing, you kind of saw it. Like he started off a little quiet, but then the room laughed and it was like, oh, Burchett's back, and asked some pointed questions. So he's kind of coming into his own, like you feel it from his perspective because, well, he was bypassed. So he's no longer co-chair. She's just now the chair. And so he wants to stay out of her way, be deferential. But you can tell he's just been like hurt. And so we haven't had like the same fire in Burchett, at least publicly.
He's been muted. That's why I have him on the opposite sides of the title card. On one side, I've got Tim. On the other side, I have Luna glaring over at him behind you because, well, that's kind of what's been going on. A lot of people aren't really privy to it, but we missed him in his candor.
And that's where and again, I'm still fishing around on this, but it feels like Luna might have gone around or over Burchett and pitched to party leaders like, hey, I don't want to just focus on UFOs. I want to be taken more serious. Like I could see her pitching it that way. Like, I think we'll be taken more seriously if you let us investigate these other big questions. And so like her committee is literally tasked with uncovering the secrets behind like America and the globe's greatest hits of conspiracies, like JFK, RFK, MLK, assassinations, Epstein, origins of 9/11. No,
but did you see what came out today? It's a bunch of something people have wanted the answers on for the longest time. Amelia Earhart, he signed papers to declassify all the information about Amelia Earhart that the government knew about and covered up.
Yeah,
really?
That's a distraction. It's bullshit.
Hey, but I'm into that. I watch.
Same here.
I relax to I forget the name of the show, but it's Smithsonian Channel.
Yeah.
Oh, air disasters.
Right.
I'm a little afraid of flying, but somehow I get calmed by learning about all these tragedies. And the Amelia Earhart one is one that I've been very curious of. So send that to me when it's out. But yeah, and so it seems to me like Luna could very much have been asking for that, being like, hey, I want all this stuff on my plate. Because one other thing we reported in March at Ask the Poll UAP is in the first meeting of the Secrets Task Force, and Burchett tells us, for all practical purposes, there's no longer a UAP caucus. What Burchett says is, he goes, that's just been rolled into the Secrets Task Force. So the first meeting of the Secrets Task Force, what we know is one issue that did not come up, and that was UAPs.
Right.
Both Congresswoman Mace and Burchett have told us that. And so, like, the start of this Congress, Luna seems to just have wanted to really dive in. When I first informed Senator Mike Rounds, who's Armed Services Committee, but he's also on the Intelligence Committee.
Right.
When I first told him about the Secrets Task Force, because he had never heard of it, he was kind of cracking up. And you can listen to it. Listen to the whole interview at askpoll.com. He's kind of laughing, joking, and he says basically, oh, that's great. It's better to keep them busy. And so
Exactly.
you can kind of see what GOP leaders, Speaker Johnson and Comer, were thinking when Senator Mike Rounds says it. And he goes, oh, that's great. Better to keep them distracted. Guys, Senator Mike Rounds is a Republican.
Right.
And so you have Republicans, him and Speaker Johnson or Comer, we're still fishing around there. Like someone has been blocking, overtly blocking UAP caucus / secret task force from getting access to these special access programs or SAPs. That doesn't seem to be anyone in the Pentagon. It's like for the last 2 years, UAP caucus members thought it was Pentagon, all this. No. They just learned from our reporting at Ask a Poll that, hey, it's actually your own party leaders who are blocking you. And so I asked Speaker Johnson, he's like, I don't know about that. Listen to that at Ask Poll UAP. Also asked Comer, he's like, oh, I don't know about that. And so you do sometimes have in Congress where you have staffers, because I'll give them the shadow of the doubt. Like, yeah, they're all politicians. They're all liars to one degree or another. But like Speaker Johnson is smarter than that. And so if you listen to the way I asked it, he even like stopped. You know, he's got a huge entourage around him, security, but then also staffers, and there's a bunch of other reporters. But so in that entourage, Speaker Johnson, when I asked about this, he kind of stopped the entire 20, 30 person entourage and turns back and looks me in the eye and goes, wait. I don't understand what you're asking. And so I slowed down and was like, hey, Secret Task Force, UAP Task Force, like, you blocked them from access to special access programs. And he goes, I don't know anything about that. And it felt genuine, but it felt so genuine in a lawyerly way. Because he was really listening to every word I said. And then he responded very precisely to those words. And so what we often see on Capitol Hill is the way lawmakers wash their hands or try to wash their hands of their own dirty deeds is they're like, I don't know anything about that. Because that's where we
plausible
have
deniability.
That's where we have some of these staffers, and especially some of these like chiefs of staff who've been there 2-3 decades. Like if someone stayed on as chief of staff for the intelligence committee, like if they stay on with 2 or 3 different chairs, they almost become more powerful. Kind of like you saw with J. Edgar Hoover. You know, he becomes more powerful than God, basically. And so I could see Republican leaders being totally honest and being like, no, we haven't looked into this. We know nothing about it. But someone might be using their power and their name behind the scenes. And that's something that me as a journalist, like, that's going to be hard for me to uncover. You know who that would be easy for them to figure out? If you're a sitting member of Congress. And so this year I'm kind of realizing like, wow, UAP caucus / secrets task force. Like what? It took them 2.5 years to find out that 1.2 miles down the road, down Pennsylvania Avenue,
that the FBI has a unit investigating this for years now.
Between the Capitol and the White House. And like it took them 2.5 years to find that out. Separate interview when I asked Senator Rounds about that. And I was like, hey, you know about this FBI unit? He goes, yeah, I thought everyone did. I go, well, in the House, they just learned about it. And he goes, he's laughing at him, laughing in their faces. Cause he's like, oh, those kids. And it's literally, he's saying someone in GOP leadership is doing our entire Republican Party a favor by bottling them up. And ultimate bottling up of the UAP caucus, seems to me, is to flood the zone. And instead of them just dealing with one issue that Republican leaders roll their eyes on, now Luna's in charge of 5 to 10 or 15 different head-spinning issues. Like, Republican leaders are not looking to the secret task force for answers. if anything, they're looking for what we're actually getting out of it. And what do we see this past hearing? It wasn't on C-SPAN.
No.
All the other ones have been. And C-SPAN, they're going through budget changes because cable's losing out to streaming. So that could be part of it. But the UAP UFO issue, C-SPAN, it's like biggest days ever. Like that first hearing with Grush back in 2023, like I covered the MLB Major League Baseball steroid scandal where you had Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, all these huge players on the Hill testifying.
Bigger hits, longer hits, bigger audience, and we got to stop this, guys. This is wrong. What the fuck? Seriously, they killed MLB's growth.
Dude, and that's where like the line to get into that MLB hearing, like maybe went down like one hall. It was just like, oh, people want to get in. Some are going to wait in line, but only 20, 30. For the UAP hearing with Grush.
On July 26, 2023, it was down, it was around the block.
It went around 3 different halls in the, I believe, the Rayburn House Office building.
Right.
And I was not late, but I was getting there and kind of like taking video, and Burchett happened to be there. And he went and said hi to everyone who ventured out, because especially people at the end of the line probably weren't going to make it in. And so Burchett went and said hi, introduced himself, and thanked people for coming. I was like, I'm a feature writer. I love being a fly on the wall. I could only do it for 20. He was there for like more than an hour. And I was like, hey, I got to go talk to other people. It was just that many people. And so like, there's been that buzz, which I think Congress has wanted to tap into, especially someone like Senator Gillibrand. We just seen her like flop. Like, I think Gillibrand is into the issue. She looks on Reddit and she's like, whoa, at least 2 years ago, it was like 3.3 million in UFO Reddit. I think now it's 3.5 or 3.6. Like, community's growing. Lawmakers are hearing more complaints from their constituents because of drones, but then also because of just more other crap that are unknown. And so, again, like, I'm trying to figure out what happened, where the change in the water was. And like, it could be Speaker Johnson and them, like, that they were effective in pouring water on the UAP caucus. Because again, Luna didn't bring it up in their first meeting. And then what did we see? We saw new documents come out on JFK. Like, nothing game changing at all. And like,
not at all.
They've been nibbling on the edges of the Epstein stuff. Like,
that got shut down.
But no, when Congress is back next week, because they're out this week. But I want to ask Luna, I mean, come on, you attack the press. Press has good questions for you, ma'am. I'm curious why she's like raising all this ruckus about Epstein, which good. Fuck that pedo. Uncle times 12 here. Like, oh, but wait, Miss Luna, why are you giving Congressman Matt Gaetz a pass for his alleged misdeeds with a 17-year-old, at least according to Speaker McCarthy? And so, like, Congresswoman Mace has brought up to me that there's this slush fund, bipartisan slush fund in the Capitol that's been used to pay out victims of sexual assault, from both parties.
Yeah,
right.
Hey,
They're
Secret
both
Task
equally
Force.
guilty. Yeah.
But hey, if you really care about young girls, Congresswoman Luna, why don't you have that hearing?
Yeah.
Because that one, I think even cable would tune into.
Yeah, I think Nancy Mace may be in that position to
Gates.
stand up for it more. Yeah. Really quick, we have a question from someone in our chat from Brian Pemble. Says, does Matt think we have 218 people in the House to present any types of clean UAP bill to the House floor via a discharge position? I do understand that it'll be watered down in a Senate committee, but do you think there's enough people in the House to pass it?
No. So here's the weird thing about Washington. And I get that everyone in the community, because every once in a while, like, so I just adapt to my subjects. I say my job is a political reporter, but I also teach political comms. My job is to get lawmakers to fuck up and tell me what they're actually thinking. When I teach political comms, I've trained a Trump press secretary who you guys see on TV every once in a while. Yeah, political comms, their whole thing is like evading and, not lying, but trying to fudge the truth a little bit. And so, like, yeah, it's just been astounding. Watching these fumbles. Like, it's almost like there's little kids who are, they got into like their mom's closet. And so they're all like wearing clothes that are 5 times too big for them. And like, I don't think they realize the power that they could have. I lost my train of thought a tad there. Should I?
Mike, you back with us?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, Matt lost his train of thought there.
Okay.
But wait, remind me of the question. So I was
I
going
do
to
the
say,
same thing.
for the discharge petition, there's not. So yeah, on Capitol Hill, and like people will be like, "Wait, why are you sending out a new post about drones?" On Capitol Hill, drones is now synonymous with UAP, just as UAP is synonymous with UFO. And
Right.
so, like, you'll have all these lawmakers, like what? Senator Mark Kelly, astronaut, Arizona Democrat. When I talked to him about the incursions over Luke Air Force Base, which the Barry Goldwater Range, he's very cued in on it because I think even a drone or an actual UFO, UAP, hit one of our fighter jets over that base in the past few months or whatever. And so, like, Kelly, astronaut, like, he's just like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just says like 100%. He just laughs off like there's no there with aliens, UFOs. But he is dealing with, on his home turf, unknown craft that are literally hitting, billion-dollar fighter jets. And so he's addressing the problem. But with him, if you call it a UAP, like, even though the Pentagon can still not tell Virginia senators what the heck shut down Langley Air Force Base for 17 days
Uh-oh.
in 2023. And like Senator Warner and Kane, at least once a year since then, I've had meetings with the Pentagon to find out what shut down Langley. And again, Langley, if you would drive to Langley from DC, it'd be about 2.5 hours.
Right.
If you're in one of America's new fancy, 5th generation fighter jets, the F-22 Raptors, if you're in one of those Raptors, you're just 30 minutes away from DC. So like that Raptor fleet is a part of the defense of our nation's capital. And
Right.
over that 17-day period, what did the Pentagon have to do?
They had to relocate
America-
them to Oceana Naval Air Station in Virginia Beach.
Like, that's
They
so
had to get them
mad.
out of there. I know.
But isn't that insane? And they're
No.
like, what have they done since then? The
Nothing.
Pentagon.
Nothing.
No. Oh, no. This is better than nothing. Our military that we drop, just shy of $1 trillion a year on.
Every year.
It's
That they can't account
over
for
$1 trillion if you
60%
put
of
in
it.
intel stuff. So we
Right.
drop about $1 trillion a year. What have we learned? Well, balloons can invade our airspace and regularly do. Like, what the heck?
Right.
What did the Pentagon, what was their answer to Langley? They bought nets. So now the billions of dollars worth of hardware, the best planes on the planet, because they couldn't protect them against these drone swarms, which again, they cannot. And like Kane and Warner both tell me, they're like, hey, we kind of know, we have a hunch when we're getting lied to, like briefers will evade some of our questions. They're like, here, Pentagon's not evading our questions. They're like, they literally, those 2 senators are kind of convinced. They're like, these people, these high up officials briefing them are clueless 2 years out as to what shut down Langley. Like, that's terrifying. And so, yeah, they all want to call those drones. You can call it whatever you want. You could call it a little puppy, but it's the same thing. It's a UFO, UAP, something you don't know. Call it whatever you want. And so that's where we are seeing in this year's, to finally answer your question, we are seeing in this year's NDAA or National Defense Authorization Act some efforts on UAS, the unmanned aerial systems, and even some anti-drone stuff is moving in bipartisan ways. Efforts to like allow the Pentagon to like shoot down these unknown craft over our military bases. And so I could see Congress moving forward on this topic kind of. So yeah, NDAA is great cover potentially. But I could see Congress coming together, the House, 218 members. I could see them agreeing on some drone legislation. You might have UAP caucus members looking at that and being like, you know, playing poker, keeping their cards close to their chest, but they're like salivating because they're like, oh, this is going to pass our UAP agenda under the cloak of drone agenda. And so like the semantics do matter on the Hill. If I mention UAPs, and this was not the case last year, if I mention UAPs, UFOs this year, I just get eye rolls. Members, because I always got my mic with me, members just go like this. And they now know to not even say a word. And I'm like, oh, you bastards. But if I then go to those same lawmakers and ask them a drone question, you know, about the drones that they can't identify, that they don't know what they are, that are flying over their bases, they'll have that drone or UAS conversation, but they won't entertain the UAP conversation.
So there's still a stigma with it in Congress to where they stay clear of this shit.
But this is what I don't know. Like, is there stigma? Did the Pentagon, like, did they have a classified briefing? Because, like, I've been covering Congress 19 years. The only time I've had a call from a federal lawmaker on a Friday night is after Askable UAPs. We broke the news about the, well, we didn't break it to senators, but we broke the news that the House had just learned about the FBI's UFO unit. And, you know, that piece was going viral. And I get a call from a congressman about like 6, 7 at night. And I'm like, this is just strange. You know, I probably got like my first cocktail in my hand, maybe a joint in the other hand. And I'm like, whoa, am I in trouble? Why am I going to call? And it was a congressman calling me to say, hey, just so you know, the FBI is not happy with your reporting right now. He's trying not to laugh in their freaking digital face because I'm like, give a shit if the FBI doesn't like my reporting. Like, it makes me fucking smile and happy, and I'm gonna live tweet this. But it was interesting to see the lawmakers be like a little scared, and like to me, the potentially scary thing about that is you have Congresswoman Luna and Burleson after that meeting because they've been done with Arrow, like most people in the community, done with Arrow. Well, after Luna and Burleson had that meeting, they got all bright-eyed because they were like, hey, this UFO unit at the FBI, they had videos they
Never seen before.
showed them, yeah, that Arrow had never seen before. So different information, and they were more straightforward, especially than Kirkpatrick, but even more straightforward than this new iteration of Arrow. Well, having Luna continue, and she said this in a handful of interviews now with us at Askable UAPs, she's been like, yeah, we don't like Arrow. We're looking more to the FBI. Well, I'm like, whoa, take a step back. I know these members weren't here when the Senate kind of crafted Arrow just a handful of years ago. Last time I talked to Senator Marco Rubio, before he became Secretary of State Marco Rubio was really pissed at Kirkpatrick. Personally, Rubio was basically like, oh, why Laslo, why are you asking me this question? He's basically like, we set up Arrow to deal with this. And so I could kind of tell Arrow was set up because Congress was getting all these inquiries and, oh, there was more footage because there's the phone era, digital smartphone era. And so Congress literally outsourced their thinking on this subject because they were hearing so much from their constituents and from you all. They literally outsourced their thinking to Arrow, which under Kirkpatrick turned out to be a failure because whistleblowers didn't trust them. Those whistleblowers were then coming to Congress. And so now having Luna and Burleson kind of embracing this FBI as a unit, as a replacement of Arrow, I'm like, wait. Arrow, as failed as they are meant to be a public-facing agency. They're literally meant to do away with some of the secrets, to literally give us a little bit of transparency or disclosure, like not total disclosure, not total transparency, but federal government, a little bit of Arrow was set up to appease this community because Arrow was set up to talk to this community. It might have been set up to talk down to us, but whatever. It was supposed to have a dialogue with us. FBI does not have that mandate. The FBI does not give a shit about the public. The FBI, in fact, wants lawmakers to shake down reporters on Friday nights, reporters who are doing just good, diligent work, reporting what lawmakers told us. And so, unless the mandate for the FBI and that unit changes, I don't see any unit within the FBI that's publicly facing and meant to be there for us, at least totally. So I think I'd like to see lawmakers wrestle with the full implications of their thinking. I think right now they're just knee jerk, oh, Arrow sucked, Patrick's terrible. Oh, we had one good meeting with the FBI. But also, guys, remember, the FBI is really good at mind control. And so for both Burleson and Luna to walk out of that meeting gushing, I'm like, guys, you're not very strong-willed. I would not want.
And then right after that, she started in with the defund Arrow campaign, if you remember. They want to take money from Arrow and give it to the FBI.
And that's where, and I haven't heard her, I haven't seen a bill, I haven't seen that explicitly, but she's definitely been, hinting at that. But I'm like, wait, you guys eventually need to have a conversation with your Senate colleagues about what they were intending when Arrow was set up. Because, Arrow, I think most all of us agree on this. It seems set up for failure because it can only be as good as the information the top brass allows. If you're within the Pentagon.
How about we could say it's set up to perpetuate the cover-up more than anything, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to focus on balloons or other stuff. There's nothing spectacular they're showing. They're giving us all the shit.
And I might be wrong here. I kind of see two different arrows. The Kirkpatrick arrow, and it does feel like he still is trying to be puppet master, or maybe he's trying to sabotage his colleagues over there. He's just, again, my last conversation with the Secretary of State was the Secretary of State calling Sean Kirkpatrick an utter failure because he failed at his most basic duty, which was having an agency that was trusted by whistleblowers. And so when all these whistleblowers started knocking on Congress's door, that meant Arrow had failed. And this is a little off this topic, but that's where I'm a little worried and quite frankly surprised. And I'm going to push them this week. Hearing Congressman Burleson tell us at Askapol that after the last hearing, he's like, so I'm going to personally meet or do phone calls initially, but he's like, I'm going to vet a handful of whistleblowers that are new whistleblowers. And he goes, And then if they don't agree to come and like talk to us in a skiff, then we'll subpoena them. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are you even bringing up subpoenas? Like, according to what we know, there's been at least 40 whistleblowers who've gone to the Senate and said, we don't trust Arrow. Like, those are people who want their stories told. Like, they don't need to be subpoenaed. They need to be, they need to, you need to gain their trust. Like, they don't feel safe talking about what they know. They want to talk about what they know. They just don't want to be targeted. They don't want to have their mental health record put out like we saw with Grush. They don't want to, have arrest records put out. They don't want to be targeted, ... And so, like, Congress, and I think I tie this directly to the leadership or lack thereof of Chairwoman Luna. And when she went on Joe Rogan's podcast and was lambasting Elizondo and others and saying like, oh, they got skiff flu, man.
Oh, started a shitstorm with that.
But literally, from what I now know of how Luna
Operates.
just like knifed me, just like shanked me in the side or in the front, like debating what she told me a year and a half ago. I'm like, wow, so you are fine lying.
She did that with Lou as well with the skiff flu bullshit. And because you're friends with Lou, so you know what was going on.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay. And so now I'm trying to like figure out how much, I used to cover entertainment. And so I say I know how to deal with asshole politicians because I know how to deal with asshole musicians. And so like each lawmaker, each superstar, you just treat a little bit differently. And so that's why I'm kind of trying to figure out Luna. And I wanted to say this earlier, like, listen to most of our interviews. They're like, she's nice, she's charming. Like, she's not the devil. I think when things don't go her way, or when she's criticized, like the drumbeat after the hearing got canceled in the summer, then throughout August when we were just like simply highlighting their dereliction of duty and like, falling short of what they actually told us. Luna received any just honest reporting about Secret Task Force and their stalled investigation.
As a personal attack.
Yeah, Mike.
Very personal.
Yeah, it was really personal,
and
and it comes down to the old saying, hell has no fury like a woman scorned. She was just freaking claws and nails and everything out going at you. It was just crazy.
Like, this is where, like, I'm from Chicago. I'm scrappy. You see me online, I live, because I've covered the Groypers, the Proud Boys, like, the internet, death threats, all that. Like, the internet I see is a lot darker than what everyone else sees. And actually, when I've been retweeted by Matt Gaetz and AOC separately, I've seen the worst side of the internet. Like, rape threats for AOC, death threats for Matt Gaetz, and like just seeing that that's their daily world digitally, it kind of helped me understand because Luna's very online. So I'm like, oh shit, she gets a lot of online threats. And with her, you just post a picture of her doing her job and someone's going to like comment on her body and do all this. So she's being objectified and then getting threats along those lines. And so I get her knee-jerk reaction to be defensive. Like, that's just this political era / digital era that we're in. But you got to remember, she's now a chairwoman. She's got the gavel. Like, you can rise. No. We need you to rise above the bullshit of the internet. Like, please do not bring that bullshit into, up on the dais with you. And so she's a younger member, first time chair. You can tell she just feels torn. She wants, like, even though she didn't think about UAPs, once we shone the spotlight on her, and her attention was forced to get there. Now she really wants the community to know, like, hey, I'm your champion. I think all of you, like us, are kind of like, prove it.
Right.
She's like, I've already proved it. I'm one of the few lawmakers who talks about this issue. Duh. And so somewhere in her mind that like gives her license to lash out at people who don't fall in line. But I'm literally like, wait. So we know that the July or June UAP hearing, it wasn't canceled because there weren't witnesses. It was canceled because it was never set up. Like your office just didn't send the paperwork. And so,
A week
yeah,
before. They fucked up.
so we get that you don't want to be talking about that, but Congressman Luna, like, wag the dog in a different direction. Because if you continue to wag the dog, shaking down your whistleblowers, guess what? You're going to have the same problem that turned Arrow into a failure. And those whistleblowers are not going to trust Congress. And I'm kind of getting that sense now where you're having more whistleblowers go to the Senate because they're more trusted than the Secrets Task Force, which was supposed to be set up. At least the UAP caucus portion of it was supposed to be set up as that repository for this stuff. And like literally, if you can't get a UAP whistleblower into the skiff, or you can't get UAP whistleblowers there to testify, that's a pure and utter failure on your part. Because I'm not in Congress, but I've got 10 or 12 whistleblowers knocking on my DMs.
Yeah, your inbox is full. I know.
Yeah. And so, like, I've got people who wanted to testify for more than a year. They still just don't trust Washington. And Washington in the last Congress was more Arrow. Now, Congress itself is getting tainted with that Washington stanky swamp smell. And I think UAP caucus members, Secrets Task Force folks, I don't think they quite realize that. Like they're in the heat of battle and they just want wins before next year's election year and like government funding battle hanging over stuff. So we might have government shutdown in a week. So there's all this pressure. I think they need to just like pause, breathe, and realize like,
Why is
hey,
your mother calling me? Oh,
but
sorry.
it's like, hey, the UAP community, these whistleblowers, like they're in the trenches with you. And if anything, they've risked a lot more than you'll ever risk. So like, don't lash out at them. Like, don't do what I do and like get angry on social media. Like, breathe, take it in. Cause like, if you alienate them, then there's no investigation. Like literally, there's nothing. And if anything, we want to hear from more. And after this public hearing, like after Grush's and like the other ones, so much of this information is now confined to SCIF. For lawmakers to not even be able to have those conversations. Like, I guess Burleson, once he hired David Grush, they were finally able to get Grush in a SCIF. It took him 2 years. Like, the guy testified publicly. And so this is where I'm like, oh, these kids are just inept. And I call Congress my wayward children. It's the Professor Laslo side. But like, after Grush testified, and I'd say what, half, maybe a third of what he testified was great question. I can only answer that in a SCIF. Like, knowing that that's what a credible witness, according to AOC and the Freedom Caucus, why didn't they set up this hearing 3 hours public, 3 hours classified? Like, literally, while it's fresh, while you have these witnesses here in Washington, why not just hear their public testimony and then everything that they said they can only talk about in the SCIF, go take them to the SCIF right then and ask them, well, it's fresh on your minds and while they're actually here. And so that's really, that to me just seems like the lowest hanging fruit. Like, because the UAP caucus in particular has been frustrated for 2 years because they weren't able to get Grush in a skiff, and yet they repeat their same, you know, not blunder, but like, if Grush and these other witnesses who are credible, if half of what they know can't be said publicly, then set up a space to learn about the other half of what they know privately. And like, your members of Congress, figure it out. Us taxpayers have paid millions of dollars for these skiffs. Literally just fucking bring them there. Even for an hour or 10 minutes.
That seems to be a plan, right, Mike?
It does, but the 119th session of Congress has been a shit show from the beginning, and it doesn't look like it's going to be improving anytime soon. That being said, you're right about what you said in regards to the heads of the Republican Congress. They didn't like that the UAP caucus was actually making headway with the public and getting their attention. So Thomas and I talked about this on the show to our audience. I spoke with members of Congress, and I was told that they wanted to get the UAP caucus out of their hair. So they created this bullshit secrets task force. They stepped over Burchett, who had seniority, and they stuck Luna in because she's young, inexperienced, and really doesn't know what she's doing. And they did that because now
she is a savvy operator. I'm torn on her. Like, any member of Congress, I'm kind of like, holy shit, you got elected. You put yourself out there. And this is why I also say I interview 535 liars for a living. Like, right. I'm perpetually torn on my subjects. I know they're politicians, but like, she is a part of that younger breed that, for better and for worse, has turned the Republican Party into MAGA, you know, turned my grandpa's conservative party into Trump's MAGA party, for better and for worse. Luna and them are feeling very empowered by that. And they have that MAGA wing that Luna is probably a part of. They've totally changed the Republican Party. And so, like, they've been very effective. And that's where I'm like, guys, you're young. You made it to Congress. Like, surely you could figure out that the FBI has a UFO unit, like, in your first year of your investigation. Like, right. Come on. And that's where I'm like, oh, they're just still not putting their savvy, their full savvy towards this issue. Now, Burleson, he is. This is the first time covering Congress, 19 years. He hired the very whistleblower. Like, it's five-dimensional chess. Like, he's got Grush now on his staff. But then what do we just see with these interrogatories or these letters that they're going to be sending out? They sent out two to two agencies and then two others to, it seems like, private contractors. Burleson told us private companies, but it seems like contractors. Yeah.
You know what I hear?
What Burleson told us, wait, real quick, brother. What Burleson told us is that when the Oversight Committee's lawyers went through the interrogatory, the only things they changed were David Grush's questions. And they just slimmed them down. And Burleson was like, yeah, you know, they were like, hey, let's do it more vague on the first one. And then if they're not precise, then we can be more precise on the next one. And I'm like, wait. You guys on the UAP or the Secrets Task Force, like, you literally allowed your secret weapon to be neutered in front of your eyes. And I'm like, that's where they're just not savvy enough yet.
Oh, he's been neutered since he testified in 2023. And even though he's working for Burleson's office, this current administration under no means will absolutely restore his security clearances that he needed. Now, I understand they recently gave him back TS, but a TS security clearance, you and I can get. They won't give him the SCI or the need to know. And they're going to make sure he never gets that. So, yeah, they definitely neutered him. You're not kidding.
But this is like the funny thing that we all know that we can't really say out loud, but like, Burleson, that's your staffer. And one, just because it was so abnormal, I've never seen this before. I've been learning along with Burleson, and they've been learning, but like, I guess Grush is like part-time staffer. It's very interesting seeing, but like, they've had some skiff briefings where I guess it was just Burleson, Grush, and Arrow.
It was at the TS level, right?
Yeah. Well, so, but when Burleson and Grush are in his office, and like, not to say the FBI doesn't bug congressional offices, they shouldn't, but not, they don't do a lot of stuff they shouldn't. Like,
Right.
It just seems like, oh, because what did we learn? Like, Grush is not a part of the secret task force. Like, there's actually a law passed so that basically it seemed like an old school law where you'd have like a powerful, say, Chairman Russell from Georgia, like way back in LBJ's day. And he just became a titan, which is why we have the Senate Russell building. But because he was so powerful in his committee, any other committee member would do whatever he demanded. And so you could see him saying, no, I get all your staffers. They actually work for me. And so at some point in our history, a law was passed that says if a staffer works for Congressman Burleson, they cannot be working for the whole committee or ... In this case, Grush is, not formally, but at least Burleson, it seems, and even though it might be illegal, they can have those very classified conversations
Privately. Right.
Yeah. And then it's what comes out in the questions. I mean, we're in uncharted territory, which is kind of exciting from a historical perspective. But even like, I get there's so much in this Congress for everyone in the community to be so pessimistic about. But again, as I always remind myself and my students, like, hey guys, the Democratic Party really, really, really cares about universal health care. And guess what? It took them more than 100 years to fall short of universal health care when they passed Obamacare.
Yeah.
So like,
and Obamacare was so great. My brother was forced onto a plan that he couldn't afford. And when he had cancer ravaging through his body, he couldn't even afford to go ahead and get a freaking an MRI because the charge was so high for him to get the tests. It was horrible. My private health insurance for me and my family at that time more than doubled, and what we got dropped. It was horrible for a lot of people.
And that's obviously not what most Democrats wanted. I don't think any Democrats wanted it, but like, that's not what they wanted. But it took them 100 years to fall short, And so that's where the legislative game, you just have to take the long view. What I've seen, especially from Burleson. Well, so Burleson and Senator Rounds are the two who, and also keep your eyes out for Nick Begich, the new first-term congressman from Alaska. I think it was his uncle, Mark Begich, was a Democratic senator from Alaska like 10 years ago or whatever. He passed Obamacare. Well, Nick Begich, he's a Republican. And first met him at one of the conventions, I met him at the Republican convention. I was walking past and he stops me and he goes, "Hey, you're Matt Laslo from Askapole UAP." He's like, "I love Askapole UAP." So he's been like cued in. Like right now, he's only on the science and Technology Committee, but
Good enough.
I could see him going to oversight. Oh, I know. And that's where I'm
You
like,
think
wait,
we'll get Burchett back, though, or is he out for good?
Burchett's there. He's just being deferential. It seems to me.
He's been looked over.
Part of it, he's pouting. And like, I get it. It's not that he has a big ego. It's just he has a little ego that was hurt when Luna bypassed him. And so, like, if anything, he's being wise and strategic. And you never want to step on a chair, a person, legs and or feet or whatever. Like, you want to give them space. And so, like, now I think we're seeing Luna lean on Burleson for the UAP issue, which kind of makes him the brain trust that Burchett
Used to
kinda
be.
was. Yeah,
Seems
well,
like he's
he
been
didn't-
shoot out with a frickin' broom, if you ask me.
like,
But
he
who's
didn't
driving
last
that?
year.
Who's riding
A lot
that
of the-
broom? Oh yeah.
A lot of the best ideas did come from Burleson. He says he's still skeptical, but there's like, he's got what the rest of Congress is lacking. Let me put it this way. Oh my God, he's inquisitive. He's curious. The rest of the Congress just flipped the switch. And they're just like, literally 3 times now, I've asked Senate Intel Vice Chair Mark Warner, have you read that Wall Street Journal article? Have you read it? Again, I finally printed out a copy for him because last time I texted it to his new press secretary, because he was like, oh, text it to her, got her number, send it over. Ask him a month later, he still hasn't read it. So now I'm Professor Laslo's just bringing y'all your homework. But I'm like, what a dereliction of just basic constitutional duty for you to be the Senate Intel Vice Chair / chair, and for a reputable, like, Wall Street Journal, one of their like A1 feature writers was one of my mentors back in the day. Paul Blader, teaches at King's College. Like, Wall Street Journal is meticulous. Like, Paul Blader, my mentor, he'd be sent out. He was on the minerals and mining beat. He'd be sent out for a month and a half in Pittsburgh to like just do one feature, or they'd send him to China for like 2 months, and he'd spend like 3 months writing that story, having it fact checked. Like, I'm a magazine writer. When I turn in something to Playboy or Vice or Rolling Stone, like, you have layers and layers of editors. And so some of those publications like Vice, there's not that many layers of editors, which is why they're not as reputable as Wall Street Journal and, say, Playboy.
Right.
And so that's where, like, that piece, even though us all looking at it, we're like, oh, Kirkpatrick was obviously the puppet master of that piece, but he also got they say, I think it's 18 sources that they say, and like, it's the Wall Street Journal. Like, I do not doubt that. And I do not doubt that Kirkpatrick was able to rally 18 or 12 or whatever skeptics who then talked to Wall Street Journal and painted that narrative. But I'm like, guys, if this reporting is credible and they quote former Aero Director Kirkpatrick directly in the piece, the entire UFO thing has just been a psyop from the 70s, then why the fuck wasn't Luna's hearing on that? Well, in part, because she hasn't read it. But also, why hasn't the Senate Intelligence Committee even wrestled with that? Like, if a psyop was perpetuated on the American people for 50, 70 years.
80.
Yeah. So then wouldn't it be in the public interest if, cat's finally out of the bag, for maybe Senate Intel to have a public hearing and be like, hey guys, so sorry. Like, never have had X-Files. We made all that stuff up. Like, the whole, like, thinking behind like an 80-year psyop just unravels so quickly. And like, I live in a world where I'm like, okay, I trust the Wall Street Journal and their reporting. Okay. I live in a world where, yeah, there could be a 70-year-long psyop that's also a psyop keeping us from what they're actually looking into. And so, like, yeah, I don't think there's inaccuracies per se, or I haven't seen anyone unravel that piece and be like, hey, this is factually wrong. This is factually wrong. Seems like it's all factually correct. It's just this small mosaic
But
that really misses the broader picture.
we had laws to prevent lying going to the public, and they amended the law with the Smith-Munn Modernization Act of 2012 under Obama when they shut down the ability and they enabled the ability of the government to start lying to the people and, if you want to call it, facilitate psyop campaigns.
Wait. What?
With zero
How was
accountability.
the youngin? What's the name of that?
It's the Smith, where's that at here? Smith Munt, M-U-N-D-T.
Oh, I do remember that name. I was like a pup reporter back then. What did that do? It changed something with...
Basically, there was a law like 90 years standing at that time that prevented the government from lying to the people and committing psyops and lying to everything what's going on. And when Obama was in office in 2012, I believe it was, they modernized it and made it legal for the government at that time to start lying to the people.
And that would
no
actually make
accountability.
sense. But that would make so much sense timeline-wise. Because as much as both parties, like, my biggest critique of America and our government system is that both parties have perfected selling fear and doom. And so, like, while I did my master's thesis on the increase in partisanship from the 80s on, I don't think the problem anymore, it's not hyper-partisanship. Bro, you nailed it. It's literally tribalism. And even, like, when I wrestle with it, the difference between hyperpartisanship and hyper-tribalism is hyperpartisanship, it's a war of ideas. And, like, in this Congress, lawmakers aren't talking to each other. They're yelling past each other. And they're just yelling at little scarecrows or caricatures, straw men that have been created by the other side's media, whether that's the Peacock or Fox.
Right. So there was a law in 1948 which originally prohibited the domestic dissemination of U.S. government propaganda materials to the public of the United States. And that's what, in 2012, they amended it and made it legal for the government to start doing that here in the U.S.
Oh, bro, that's what I was saying. So 2012, what did we have? Yeah, the Obama administration. But in 2010, we had the Tea Party sweep. What was it? The finagling, what did he say? Anyway, the shellacking. And so that would have been probably Speaker Boehner would have been in power in the House, but that's where, like, some of the worst things Congress does are bipartisan. And, like,
it was John Boehner. Yep, he was the speaker.
And that's where, like, this sounds like one of them, where it's like, okay, we don't want to shut down the government. We got to, like, come, but all right, because we're negotiating in back rooms, like, hey, let's just slide this in. And, like, that's where us as the American people just, part of my friend, just get fucked every time from every orifice in our ears and our toes. Like, don't trust politicians. As much as they want you to give them money and to support them, I'm like, yeah, support them. But, like, if you agree with a politician 100% of the time, you're a part of the problem.
Yeah. My dad used to say, if you buy a politician a cup of coffee, that's a bribe. And they should never accept it, but they do.
I have a rule. I've never taken anything from politicians, but if I go, like, what? Even like my poor little self over the years, even when I was an unpaid intern, I'd be buying beers at a random time when, like,
you want to drink from the open bars? Come on, Matt. Of course you would. I know I would.
Oh, no. I always, in DC, I only have cash on me just to make a statement, because
there you go.
What do we see from reporters from these other, like, big outlets? Washington Post, New York Times. Oh, they're waiting for the free bar. And, like, literally, this one time I went to a goodbye for a press secretary, and it was paid for by the congressman's campaign fund.
Of
And
course.
so, like, this is like 18 years ago,
Yeah.
but I've been sick to my stomach since. Because even though I was broke, unpaid intern who was like illegally working for cash under the table on the weekends, refitting a house on Capitol Hill, I could survive. I still I made a point of going and giving them cash, and the bartender's like, "Oh, it's all paid for." I'm like, "No. These motherfuckers will never buy me a thing."
Yeah.
I'd rather die poor, broke, or in prison than take a goddamn thing from one of these politicians.
You don't want the influence, my friend. You want to stay pure. That's awesome.
And bipartisan.
Speaking of which, I'm about to go get pure because I think I need a joint after this week. It's been a pleasure, guys. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, definitely, Mike.
Yeah, oh, listen, brother, you got an open door here on the show. You always have. So anytime you're available, you reach out and you'll be on.
Mike, we'll put
And
you on the calendar to go ahead and try and chase down Matt once a month or so.
Wait. Who's?
Or whenever you got time.
I guess we don't know. There's Anonymous Rex.
Yeah. That's
What?
him.
Who kicked you out to the garage?
He's got a Lamborghini and a BMW in there, so he's not hurting these days.
Oh,
Just
man.
saying.
Your whole garage is probably bigger than my entire English basement.
I think so.
I'm getting ripped off for covering these lying assholes. Hey, thank you all.
26% increase too. Yeah. So listen, brother, I'll keep in touch with you privately.
Please.
And whenever you got some time, you can come on and we'll talk about what's currently going on.
Yeah.
I know that you're going to give Congress a run for their money next week. So we'll talk
Keep the
about
questions
how it
coming.
unfolds. Oh, we will.
Keep the
And I'll-
questions coming.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll reach
Appreciate
out
you,
to
Mr.
you.
Laslo. Thank you for coming out,
Love
Professor. Have a great one.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Wow, what a great conversation, Mike. Holy cow. Since we're
It's
in
been a
that
while.
mood and everything, I have a statement I need to go ahead and read for our friends over at Twitter. I think they've covered this, but I think our audience is due to this one as well. Do you mind if I bring it up?
No, be my guest.
All right, let's get to it. So we have a post here, a Twitter post from our dear friend, and of course, more than a dear friend, Mr. Ivan Hanel. He's the representation for Lou Elizondo and others that I'm not going to mention at this time. Let's get into this. As a lawyer, I don't waste time with threats or warning letters, trolls. You'll never receive one from me. People are served without notice, often when they really think that they have made it out of harm's way, and that in that moment they see that the choices they made out of greed, vanity, and sometimes astoundingly, even the shallow pursuit of low-level attention, I know for a fact, will cause them dearly. By that point, the groundworks is complete. Asset search done, spouses
Family
named,
members.
evidence secured and attached to the complaint. And what remains is straightforward process, my friends. I take no pride in cruelty, but I do take the satisfaction in exposing liars. And you know who you are, you liars out there, who finally grasp that they have put their families,
That includes mothers and grandmothers.
their jobs, who've been worried
Everything.
about it lately, their assets, you better believe it, and their pathetic futures in jeopardy for nothing of value, trolls. Their so-called friends, often the ones who cheered them on, are nowhere to be found when the legal bills and judgments arrive or the rent is due. Oh, I don't care about your mental issues. I love he put that in there. It is so wonderful. Either repentance must be immediate, complete, and full to have any chance of leniency. For whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee, trolls. Good luck to you.
Yep.
Some wise words from our dear friend and attorney, Ivan Hanel.
Right. So
Yeah.
They've all been put on notice. They've all been warned.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now they're going to see how this plays out, what happens next.
Well, Mike, they fucked around.
They're
Now
going to
it's
find
time
out.
to find out. And remember, everybody, it's only 13 weeks till Christmas, and we can't wait to see what Christmas presents are going to arrive from FedEx in the mail, or from Santa
Oh,
Claus, for that matter.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And-
going to be a bumpy ride for them, and it's going to be a fun ride for us. We're going to enjoy.
Should
every
they
minute of it.
buckle in, or should they strap in because they're getting ready for Ivan's strap on? Oh, gotta have fun with it.
Oh, and
Yeah,
we do,
Sam
and
says-
we will.
Ivan has 0 fucks left. That's right.
That's correct. He
Oh, yeah.
does. 0.
Sometimes
And
we
he's
have to go
good.
ahead and do the business kind of a thing, getting to it. And Ed Brown, I'm so sorry. You put up your hand once when Ivan was here, and I ignored you. Please still be my friend. Go ahead.
I will be your friend, Tom. So, well, I'll throw these questions out, and then you can answer them since he's no longer here. Here's the first question I would have asked him. He talks about Luna and Gates seeing bodies. Okay, from there, she's not going to admit it. He's not going to admit it. But why does it just die right there? You would think someone would pick that up and say, "We need to know more about what you saw." Wouldn't you
Well,
think?
she
so?
came out. She came out, Ed, and she then afterwards
Daggers
said
drawn.
publicly that she never said that, and that never happened. So she walked back and retracted that coming out about her. She denied anything to do with it.
Yeah, but now, so we've also got that bill that was that they're no longer paying any attention to, just ignoring it. Maybe she is lying. How are we going to know if she's lying or not?
No, I know that she's lying about many things, because back in 2023, she was down at Eglin Air Force Base with Matt Gates and Tim Burchett. And then she publicly stated that she was going to be holding a field hearing at Eglin Air Force Base back then. And when she made that statement, I reached out to Congress to confirm if she has the authority and would be able to hold a field hearing outside of a military base. And what they all told me is that Congress would only have an official hearing within Washington, DC, in the halls of Congress, nowhere else. So when I asked why would she be making public statements like that if it wasn't true, I was told that they are all aware that she is able to make a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of inaccurate statements. And I got that straight from the horse's mouth in Congress about her. So it doesn't shock or surprise me or Thomas in 2025 that she's still out there making all of these false claims, and none of it is true. That's just how she operates. So I was told that directly from members of Congress.
But
So
Mike, it's
she's full of
nothing
shit.
like the statements that the trolls have been making, which are totally salacious. But she's been making some statements, not necessarily trolls, but doesn't compare to what we've been dealing with.
Well, what about
No,
Gates?
it doesn't.
Why would he's not being held back anymore, is he? Other than
Who?
Gates, since he's
Matt Gates?
no longer in Congress, so why can't he talk?
Well, he's no longer in Congress because they were doing an ethics violation
Yeah.
investigation within Congress.
But
Now-
anything that happened, Mike, remember there is a fund in place to pay for any of the inappropriate stuff, even like what's that guy from California's name? Adam Schiff, he was doing stuff with a page boy or something, and he got in trouble for it. So anytime there's inappropriate things going on in Congress, don't they have like a multi-million-dollar slush fund for paying off people?
Yeah, Laslo just spoke about it on the show earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do. But the problem with Gates is that he wasn't just involved with illicit relationships with underage girls. He was also
Allegedly.
He was allegedly showing the sex tapes on his phone in the halls of Congress to other congressmen and women. And they were really pissed off about that. So then they conducted a ethics committee investigation on him, which the results of the investigation are private until they complete the investigation. And when they were at the point where it was completed and the results were going to come out publicly, Matt Gaetz resigned. And the reason he did that is because if he resigned his office and they completed their investigation, it would no longer be released or come out publicly. That's why he did it, to cover his ass.
Yeah.
He didn't have a choice. No choice. That's why he left. Because he was guilty as sin, and they found out, and he didn't want to deal with the consequences. But as far as if there is not an ethics investigation going on with a sitting Congress member, and somebody comes forward that may have been sexually assaulted, yes, they will settle out of court and they will pay that individual off. That's been going on like that since there's been a Congress.
And Mike, most
Nothing
importantly, what goes on with that fund, how it's spent, who they do it for, is completely confidential and held back from the public, although
Right.
those dollars are completely coming in and funded by the tax-paying people of America, right?
They are, absolutely. But that's another part of the government that is using our taxpayers' dollars and will not reveal to us what they're doing with that money. Nothing new with that either, as far as the government is concerned. And Congress, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. The DOD, as you and I have covered many times, takes almost $1 trillion a year in their budget, but they can't account for over 60% of it.
Year after year, and this has been going back. They have like 2.1 trillion or so dollars that are completely unaccounted for from the DOD, and they have failed every audit year after year. Like you said, there is a chief CFO, chief financial officer for the DOD, and honestly, if they can't say where the money is going, they need to stop giving corporate officers immunity and start taking the people who are in those positions, and if they lie or can't produce the information they're required to, send them to jail. I'm tired of this excuses standpoint, right, Brian?
Well, listen, Thomas, it's 21 trillion that they can't account for over the years. That's almost the entire deficit of what this country has that they have missing. That is criminal, if you ask me.
Yeah. Talking about Troy in the audience says, Mike, 10,000 a kidney. Then you get paid. Then you get pay, man. Blood money, yes. But did you hear recently that they took the largest organization, one of the very large organizations in the United States, who was in charge of dealing with organ donations, that they were taking people who were like they were crying, they were biting down on their freaking breathing tube when they didn't want to die, and they freaking killed them and harvested their organs. This is absolutely horrible. Something worthy of disclosure tonight. It's one of the topics we've got to cover, Mike, because the kind of bullshit that's been going on in the name, we've heard tons of stories in the news going back. Well, it was recently a couple months ago and 6 months ago, a year ago, and et cetera, of people talking about how they had to barricade themselves in their room to prevent the organ harvesters from coming in and taking their son off of life support to go ahead and grab his stuff so they could give it to other people. And the kid recovered, and the parents saved him.
This is like something out of a Frankenstein movie. It's horrible.
No, it's something like out of some dystopian movie of 1984 or something to that extent, or Brazil, but that's what we've turned into.
It's corporate greed is what it is. It's about the money.
Yeah.
It's always about the money.
They say it's about the lives.
No.
But really, from the people who are running it, Mike, you're right, it's about the money.
I know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff popping up in the feed these days we're going to have to jump into as things with disclosure quiet down, because you know why it's quieting down? I'm going to blame it on the silencing of Tim Burchett.
Yeah. He's been missing in action because he got passed over by Luna.
But if we can, Brian Pemble, your hand is up, my friend. Take it.
Yeah,
yes, thank you, Thomas. Yeah, I thought that was a great little rant right there.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, the organ harvesting is absolutely horrible. And I want to thank you and Mike for bringing Professor Laslo on. I thought he was amazing. I kind of had a super
Laslo is a good friend of Thomas and mine, so yeah, it was nice having him come back.
Yes, correct. And I thought it's great. And I think that as we argue this down, as we debate the points, I think Mike, you and Thomas 100% know it's got to come from the executive branch. But if the legislative branch can do anything, there's only one of two methods, in my opinion. One's to cut the funding, because the House has the power of the purse. And the other thing is that if you want to put legislation that Mike Johnson is not going to bring up,
No, we won't.
correct. And the only way to do that is to put it in the hopper, let it go to committee. Okay, there's going to be 30 days on that, and then plus 7 days. You need 218 signatories to bring it out of committee in its original form. These are in the House rules. I know these very, very well. And then it could be brought to the House floor. Now, that's not to say that the particular Senate committees cannot bastardize the legislation, but at least you know where people stand. And so one thing that bothers me is that why do we not have anybody trying to do this via discharge petition? It's there, it's in the law, easy to do. Well, I shouldn't say easy, but it's not hard to do. It can completely be done. So if any of the House members really believes in the UAP legislation of the clean bill, they can do it. And I encourage them to do it.
Because they know they don't have the votes, Brian. That's why.
Yeah, so that's my fundamental misunderstanding, is that I believe they do, Mike. I do have to disagree with you on that. But you believe that they do not have the 218 votes necessary. I believe
they don't. And I'll tell you why. Because the UAP topic in the Senate and the Congress, the House, they're not interested in it. They're really not. They're focusing on prosaic issues like the war in Ukraine, Gaza, now what's going on in China. They are not really paying too much attention to this. And it really doesn't benefit them politically or their constituents. They want to get elected. So that's why this is not as big of a deal to them as it is to us. And that's unfortunate. So we need more people coming forward. Hey, it's a catch-22, and I'll tell you why. We need first-hand whistleblowers to come forward like David Grush did back in 2023. That would get the public's attention like Grush did. That would get Congress's attention like it did with Grush. But these whistleblowers will not come forward unless they have whistleblower protections in place on the law books to protect them, or they won't come forward. So Representative Burchett put together over a year ago, year and a half, a one-page Whistleblower Protection Act, and it got completely shut down in Congress.
2 years in a row, Mike. 2 years standing.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Now, so, but if you remember, about a month ago, Luna did come forward and say she was going to co-sponsor it with Tim, but we haven't heard anything on it since.
No, like everything else that she throws out there and never follows up on.
Yeah.
So here we go again. Look, don't worry about it. The 119th session of Congress is coming to an end by the end of this year. There's going to be an election coming up for the 120th. It's not going to be the same as it is now. We'll see which heads are going to roll and who's going to be left. I have a feeling the Republican majority that they are enjoying right now, they're not going to have it in the next session of Congress. That's going to change.
Either way.
And when it does, we'll see what happens.
Either way, we completely support Representative Tim Burchett in all of this stuff. He is the OG. He's the guy who's been there for the longest time. He knows what's going on. He's a very Southern gentleman, and things are going on he may not agree with, but he's just buttoning it up because he's been taught to respect and button it up. But we love Tim, and we always have.
Tim, the gentleman from Tennessee, is the one who had brought this out to the public's attention from within Congress. Just like in 2017 when Lou made this public with what the government was aware of with UAPs, Tim has done the same thing for Congress. So the fact that he's been sidelined right now it's a terrible shame.
Yeah, I
And I
can't.
hope
You
that
know, I
changes.
can't help but Mike, but look back at the clocks of time when Tim first came around, and he had a chat, a Tennessee chat, or something that he did, and there was a video we played for it, and I was talking about it. I kind of picked up Tim's twang a bit because you listen to him, you get into what he's saying. It kind of talk like the people sometimes. It's just different people deal with it in different ways. But at that time, I was totally accused of disrespecting and attacking the guy because I
No,
adopted
no.
a Southern accent when I was talking about things enthusiastically. We love
Well,
Tim here. We
also-
always have.
We have, and we've also complimented him, and really we're happy about some of the things that he said about Congress, and he wasn't kissing their ass or praising them. He
Yep.
was calling it out like it was.
Yep.
And we've also repeated his catchphrase, "Dad gummit," quite a few times.
Dadgummit, yeah. You know,
yeah.
I actually learned it's not daggummit, it's dadgummit.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not making fun of him. That's
No.
praising him. Right.
It's understanding his
It's vernacular.
culture, where he's
Yeah.
where he's grown up, the society around him at that time, and it's just it all makes the man that comes forward.
It does.
Like, I had no
And
idea
right
Matt Laslo was
Chicago.
from Chicago.
Chicago.
But when we said about all being from Chicago, the entire chat freaking lit up talking about all the good foods from Chicago.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which comes down to Giordano's has a superior crust to Lou Malnati's because Lou Malnati's uses too much cornmeal in their crust, and it's not real like Sicilian pizza crust kind of going to
Right.
it.
They bastardized it. Yep.
Yeah, they changed it.
You can't do that.
No, you can't.
Not with a
You want a
signature
good
dish. No, you'll-
Sicilian style crust, no
Right.
matter how you deal with it. Like
That's right.
one of the things that brought up as well is there was a best deep dish or stuffed pizza location in the Chicago suburbs in Hoffman Estates that were called Caesars, not Little Caesars, but Caesars. Yeah, unfortunately, they got shut down for not their pizza. They were selling Coke.
Well,
Apparently,
Chicago,
the
what do you
pizzas
expect?
they weren't selling enough pizzas, but yeah. Oh well.
That's Chicago.
That's the Chicago suburbs, my friend. On that note,
Mm.
Anything else from you, Mike? Anything else from anyone in the back?
Yeah, if anybody has something to say or add, now would be the time.
Yeah. All right, tomorrow, Mike. You know, people wanted to hear about it today in the chat. We'll be getting into it tomorrow. This thing going on, this whole drone situation
Europe.
that's happening again, not in the United States, but now in an area that seems to be ripe for Russia. Could the drones be the same? There's some pictures that came out that you look at it and it looks like the same, but it's one person. So could it be fake? You don't know, but we'll get into it and dive into it deep tomorrow for our show that starts at 10 p.m. Pacific, or actually 10 p.m. UK time versus at 2 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Mike
Eastern
on
Standard Time.
Eastern
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be another good show.
Oh, yeah. And for our super chats tonight, I want to thank Dell's Gaming, Brian Pemble. Sorry, Daryl, I missed that super chat, my friend. We'll get it answered for you, I promise, and Faze will. Thank you, everybody, for your love and support of what we do here at Disclosure tonight. And Mike, as we usually say at the end of every broadcast, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone, but...
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.